One man, one chance for salvation, one hero.
Started from the bottom and I'll never look back. Look at all my haters, y'all making them mad.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Christmas Hero, the channel where a true hero lives. So here we are, we're coming at you with some replays from Master Duel. But don't worry, guys, they're not using Master Duel specific cards. I definitely still use elements that are very applicable to the TCG. The only thing is, this is a NIBIRU counterplay video like I'm advertising, because it's the Master Duel event where each player starts off with NIBIRU in their hand. And I would like to point out, even though I know the opponent's starting off with NIBIRU in their hand, I'm approaching it like how I do every duel when I go to a TCG tournament, a wide field tournament. I'm trying to play around multiple interruptions, multiple hand traps, and one of the hand traps on my mind is usually always NIBIRU or Joel, and you can probably tell from my deck building. Now, this might be one of my harder videos to grasp and concept because it's combining a lot of old elements with new combos. So I would just like to point that out, but don't worry, guys. If you stay true and overcome adversity like the hero you are, it will be one of those videos that I hope will end up being really helpful in order to play through. That's right, I said play through NIBIRU. Because I feel like Heroes is one of those decks to where, since of course no omnis and stuff, like the obvious reasons, we have to use our sequencing correctly. And we have to learn how many interruptions can usually shut a deck off. So whenever I open a hand, I'm always thinking about how many interruptions I have available to me. So using this concept, that's how I usually tend to play through NIBIRU, because I'm used to getting my turn stopped. Like, for example, when I see a lot of decks nowadays, especially like hero decks, they try to play it like everybody else. They try to be like, oh, if I get my combo off, I win, so I'm just going to ensure my combo, which is fine because, yeah, we have a really strong combo. But we have to be a little truthful with ourselves, right, guys? Like, hero, and hey, I hope you guys don't hate me for saying this, but hero is not the best deck. What the fuck? But that doesn't mean you need to play the best deck to win. For example, when Despia was around and it was considered the best deck, what was in Nationals was Sky Striker versus Sword Soul, and Sword Soul won. And then not only that, showing my age a little bit, when the Cross was considered the best deck, Burning Abyss won. So that just goes to show, guys, like, and yeah, you can argue, well, those are two very good decks. We're running a tier 3 deck. The only reason I think Hero is a tier 3 deck is because Hero is very hard, and we don't have accurate representation sometimes because it is a very hard deck. And admittedly so, like, our engine's really big, which adds to problems with our consistency in our deck building. So it's like, why play that? Like, a lot of tournament players be like, why play this when I could just play something like Snake Eyes, which is a very, very, very valid argument. Because Snake Eyes is more consistent, breaks less. But I'm going to be real with you guys, any deck can brick. So we need to get past that whole I brick situation and start being like, okay, well, what cards can I play for when I brick? I can do something. I can still set up an interruption. Because when you brick, the cards you play need to be able to do something. So make sure you're bricking on cards that do something and not. And this is what I mean by I see a lot of hero lists. A lot of hero lists, their cards only do something when they can combo. And then, you know, they'll go to a big tournament and be like, oh, well, I went X3, X4, you know, or I ended up having to drop, and it's just like, because I bricked. And it's like, well, yeah, your pieces are only good for when you combo. And to go into a wide field tournament thinking you're going to be able to combo every time, just because the probability is in your favor, is kind of an entitled way of thinking. And I used to think like that as well until one of my friends took me to the side and was like, hey bro, to be honest, I think Hero can be really good. The issue is, I think you're just not playing it correctly. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like you have all these good cards like Ash and stuff, but when you brick, you don't have a game plan. And that kind of stuck with me. And one of those game plans, as you guys have seen in my previous videos, when my friend Ed told me, he was like, hey, traps beat hand traps. And at first I was like, what? But then I realized, I was like, he's right. Because, you know, for example, floodgates win that trade because hand traps tend to put a stranglehold on decks, whereas floodgates do too. However, floodgates last, and since Hero doesn't have as much a card economy as other decks, that's important, because that means we have an everlasting like stranglehold, and we can eventually win the grind game with them, or just pop off when we need to. So here we go. I'll be showing a lot of those concepts in my NIBIRU counterplay video. You just have to keep that in mind. When you see my hands, think about how many interruptions can I set up, even if I get interrupted. Because that's the type of game Yu-Gi-Oh should be, right? It should be interactive. If the game was always one-sided, it would truly be a coin flip game. But right now, as it goes, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh is a one-sided game at the moment. And I know that's odd to say in a Tier 0 format, but a big indicator of that is the fact that Omni negates are gone. A big indicator of that is the fact that it's a hand trap format, where both players are forced to interact with each other during their turns. That's not their turn. So,
Got it.
here we go. Even though I don't like hand traps myself, I'm able to recognize what the format is, recognize how decks operate, which is why like I can pilot other decks. For example, one of my tops from a long time ago, yeah, I have a top from a YCS with Toad Hero a very long time ago as well, so that's how you know I've been playing it for a long time. But another one of my tops was me running a Tier 0 deck, Dragon Rulers. And that's because I knew the interactions, I knew how to play against others, I knew how to get that edge by using tech cards. So, okay, here we go. This is the first replay. So as you can see, I lead out with Foolish here, and I send Shadow, which is why I really like Foolish, right? Because it can serve as a 1.5 card starter. So here we go, lead out with Stratos. Nothing new here, but there is a moment that I would like to point out. I want you guys to notice, Stratos was summon 1, Ferris was summon 2. A general rule as a Hero player, especially when you play against people know the deck, and which I've been playing against a lot more, because like I said, I've been making these videos. And that's another thing I'd like to point out, guys. I'm glad I'm able to help you guys, but keep in mind, your opponents are also watching these videos too. So this just encourages growth all around, because not only are we getting better, they're going to get better. So they're going to see what I'm saying, and they're going to take it, and they're going to use it for themselves and use it again, which is great, because the more competitive environment we have, the better we can grow. So keep that in mind. Even though you're learning these too, they are too. So that's when it becomes a skill issue, and we need to adapt, guys. So let's keep it going. But notice here, I made Fion the 4th summon. One way to play around NIBIRU, since Vion is such an integral part to our play, is to not summon Vion on the 5th summon. The only time you do it is 2 reasons. When you have to, or when you have a backup play. Like, of course, when you have to, that goes without saying. But in my later scenarios, you'll see what I mean by a backup play. Like, you need a way to end their turn, guys. Like, if our turn gets ended and they stop us on that Vion, we got to end their turn, or we got to have another way to combo to get interruptions. The name of the game is interruptions, guys. So that's what we've got to focus on. A lot of people aren't comfortable setting and passing, but shoot, I've grown really comfortable in setting and passing as long as I got the interruptions I need. So here we go. We send the liquid because we're going to facilitate our combo a little bit later. And that liquid send was actually really important because it also kind of telegraphs to our opponent what we're trying to do, which you can use against them. So here we go. Infernal Divisor, we're kind of just guaranteeing our favorite contact play at this point. And then the poly. And a lot of people are like, well, hey, why didn't he nib on that poly? Nibbing on that poly is a gamble. And when you're using hand chops, you're already gambling, right? So a common rule of hand chops is you don't want to gamble with your hand chops unless you have to. So if he would have nibbed us on the poly, sure, looking at our hand, you can argue, oh, well, you stopped the favorite contact play, but you don't know what other hero I have in hand. And the thing about that is, as you guys saw, I could have easily made DPE with the Plasma and the Neos that I had. Or did I already use the... But yeah, you're just never sure. They won't know if you have another hero or not, so why do it there? Why not wait for a guaranteed spot to nib? And the spot he nibbed was actually a really, really good spot to nib. And a lot of people think, why didn't he wait till the end? Well, if you're still saying that about heroes, he would have just been in a way worse situation with wake up DPE. So, yeah, like, that's not necessarily as good anymore. But if you nib us there, that means we don't get to our miracle, we don't get to our wake up. And that's a huge hit because miracle's important for our turn 3. Wake up's important for our combo now in turn 3 as well. So that means, but this also means that he's on a timer, guys. Since he stopped our turn 3 play, he has to do something next turn about us. So here we go. As you can see, I still set as the DP because I have the Fusion Destiny. And even if I don't have the Fusion Destiny, I'd like to point out, guys, I still have 4 interruptions because I have the favorite contact, the Called by the Grave, the Nib, and the Ash. And that's what I mean, right? Like, even if you get stopped, I have ways to stop my opponent and play next turn. The Fusion Destiny just ensures a bounce back play, which is very important too. So here we go. We're comboing off after the NIBIRU. And now we have 6 interruptions because we have DPE to Archangel now. Through NIBIRU. And like you guys, well, just wait. But like I said, allowing us to get the wake up in Miracle just facilitates our turn 3, and he would have been up a more uphill battle. So that's example 1 of how to play through NIBIRU. Just know how many interruptions you have and start building interruptions in the face of NIBIRU, in the face of hand traps. And yeah, you can use this approach going blind, because at the end of the day, I always expect my opponent to play. So if you always expect them to play, the times they can't play, not only are you getting full combo, you're getting full value. Whereas when you do, because that's the thing, you don't want to do awkward plays that stunt your interruptions just to play around something unless you really have to. That's another rule, because that makes your board weaker at the end of the day. But as you guys can see, I just went full throttle. And it's just all about ordering and how you sequence your cards, because I could have let out with Fusion Destiny there to dodge Imperma Veilers. But see, then that doesn't play around stuff like NIBIRU or stuff like Droll, and it makes my board a lot weaker because I'm locked into Dark Heroes. So why not go all in and know how to sequence the cards to get the ones that matter before the interruptions happen? So that's a very important lesson. Go. All right, here we go. Match number 2, guys. And remember, earlier I said on Facebook that I went undefeated in this event. So if that's not a testament to me, like, playing through NIBIRU, especially when a lot of people are like, oh, The Rock says, well, The Rock, it doesn't matter what The Rock says because the hero says he will prevail, he will live. So, because, you know, all the LOL nib comments. But here we go. We open up the Rhoda, get the Stratos. Now, we do open up one of those hands where one well-timed interruption does stop our play. So, again, guys, let's count our interruptions. I see 3. And then I also see the mass change, which makes 4. So this is really, really important interaction right here. This is another old concept that I would like to point out. So yes, guys, I know that chaining mass change to gamma does not stop the gamma, because the gamma just stops the activation. It doesn't need to target. However, the reason we make this trade is similar to something I said earlier about how traps beat hand traps. Yeah, I know mass change is not a trap. However, it follows the same formulas as a trap, or at least a floodgate one, because it lets us get a macrocosmos only for our opponent. So instead of just letting my Ferris die and banishing Mali and trying to cross Crusader for a backup play, it's like, why do that? We already burned our Ferris. We already burned our normal summon. There is no more combo without Fusion Destiny. So why continue there and risk the chance of getting Nib, Jolt, or Ash when we could just stop right here, stop with our Droplet, stop with our Daruma Cannon, stop with our Nib, and make the trade right here to where we save the Mali for next turn when we have another normal summon, and then we can search our normal summon and just make the trade right here for Dark Law. Because another old rule is, my friend Herman Cozy, the first true hero of LA regionals, he won during the cross format. He won a whole regionals during the cross format with heroes because he was mass charging and having multiple mass change and playing through interruptions like Falcon the Battle phase, because you got to have that killer instinct, as he would always say. So this is a concept, because I used to just be Dark Law pass, right? But he's the one who started teaching me, like, hey, you got to combo and kill sometimes, because you passing gives your opponent another turn. But he was like, Dark Law pass is good, and this is what he taught me, when you have other interruptions to layer it. So, for example, one of the best interruptions with Dark Law pass back then, and still is now technically, is Solemn Strike. Because if you have an effect negate with Dark Law, most decks cannot play through that. So using that concept, look what I have in hand, Forbidden Droplet. That's effect negate Dark Law. And then not only that, Daruma Cannon Dark Law beats a lot of decks. Now, I know a lot of people are probably like, what are you talking about? If you Daruma Cannon, you flip your Dark Law face down. One, you Daruma Cannon when you absolutely possibly need to. Because like I said, a lot of decks can't play past the Dark Law by themselves. So if they do manage to play past the Dark Law, you Daruma Cannon them, then they really have to end their turn. Because a lot of decks cannot play through flipping or sending their monsters face down if you do it at the right choke point. Two, there's also another cute little interaction where if I chose to save it, where I could have, and I've done this to Salad before, where if you open Daruma Cannon Dark Law, you literally, all you have to do is go Mass Chain, Chainlink 1, Daruma Cannon, Chainlink 2. You flip everything face down, and if you know your old rulings with Book of Moon and Mass Change, the monster does not need to be face up for Mass Change to resolve, because it checks later when it gets sent off the field. It checks the attribute later. So, chain resolves backwards, the Daruma Cannon resolves first, and then the Mass Change sends the monster to grave and summons your Dark Law. So now you stop 2 summons and then set up a macrocosmos where Snake Eyes can't play through that, Salad can't play through that. Shoot, most of the time Runic can't play through that either. And these are all very prevalent decks. And that's what I mean, like, you gotta know what cards you gotta brick on. Like, say this card would have been like D-Barrier or something. Now I'm hoping they're not playing a Link deck. Or say another card I really like, if it would have been Black Gloat Laz, I would have to hope they have a certain, which most decks kind of do, but not really. But see, even if like I have Black Goat with Dark Law here, if they have a single interrupt, something like Imperm the Dark Law, it gets stopped. Whereas Daruma, at least I have a chance to end their turn. Whereas like, yeah, Black Goat, you can call a critical piece, but it doesn't guarantee the end of turn. So that's just things to think about when you're deck building. And then Daruma also offers protection for Dark Law. Say you are forced to Daruma Cannon, if they're trying to attack over Dark Law or something, at least you have a battle stop. Like, it's just little things like that, guys. So here we go. We're making that trade. We're going to trade a Gamma for a Dark Law here, because Dark Law has more impact, whereas Gamma, yeah, it's stopping our combo, but it's okay. We can combo next turn. Like I said, guys, we're used to getting our turn stopped. So here we go. As you guys can see, Ferris gets stopped. I already knew that, but that's okay. We're just trading at this point. And as you guys saw, I did not summon 5 times. Sometimes you don't have to. Like, say I go Cross Crusader or something there, I risk getting Impermed, I risk getting Ash. Let's just go ahead and hold it for next turn. And as you guys see, you see the law going to work. He commits to a big monster because he has to. He has to get rid of the law now. He tries the pot, which is not a bad play, but there we go. Effect negate. And say he would have had one more extender in his hand, that one card. Look, Daruma Cannon goes crazy here. It protects the law. You gotta obey the law, guys. Like, it's just that simple. But he has to pass turn. But the fact that I have something just in case, we know he had Nibiru. He had a way to out the back row and stuff. It's just we layered our interruptions, even though we didn't full combo. And that's a very important skill to know, because you don't need a full combo all the time just to have interruptions. And that's a deck building thing too, by the way. So, okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next replay.
Alright guys, this is the last series on how to counterplay the Nibiru. Because, it doesn't matter what the rock says. A true hero shall prevail. So as you can see, following up on my screen, you can see our hand. You open kind of awkward. It's like, yeah, we have a hero lives and Stratos, but technically we only have one real interruption, and that's Nibiru. Just kidding. We actually have three. That's what I see, including the Nibiru, because, yeah, we opened up Thrust, which is such an amazing card for heroes, because since we play the Daruma Cannon, even going first, at the very least, it's an interruption, and if the Thrust isn't live, that means we're getting full combo, right? The only time, and it breaks one of the rules I said, it's not good as if we brick, and that's why I've been playing multiple lately because it's hand trap format, but in non-hand trap formats, I'm not a big fan of playing multiple of this card. And another reason I'm not a fan of playing multiple is because, like I said, opening multiple isn't good. But however, in hand trap format, it's almost always a guaranteed interruption because, hey, they're usually going to have a hand trap and make this live for you. So that's one. And then two, I do count the favorite contact as an interruption because, yeah, we already opened the Neos. And even without opening, you'll see me do a play that even if we don't open the Neos, we still get the Neos. Getting Neos is important if we ever open favorite contact, because we can turn the favorite contact into an interruption by searching a D hero. So based off this hand, I'm going to have to play a little differently than I normally would, because like I said, we anticipate our opponent being able to play, right? So that's what we got to do. We got to play to our hand and anticipate them trying to stop us. So here we go. We lead out with Stratos. And normally when I open Stratos hero and I have a hero lives, I go Shadow Miss. However, in this situation, like I was hinting at before, I was already thinking, okay, I might need the Shadow Miss to search later, like a D hero. So we want to keep all our search functions live. And not only that, I didn't necessarily want to lead out Shadow Mist to get the mass change, because here, if the Shadow Mist gets stopped, it hurts more because our interruptions aren't we have to combo into our interruptions basically. So the crazy part is, as you guys can see, the opponent did have the M-Perm. So not only would it have cut us off from a search because we attempted to activate one of Shadow Mist's effects, we don't even get the mass change. And then we're stuck with our hand on hoping the Ferris combo resolves. And I don't necessarily want to put all my eggs in the Ferris combo basket. So this was a hand where it's like, okay, going for the Dark Law route Hero Lives is a little more riskier than it needs to be. So let's just try to combo also. Because I was going to search Ferris with this, and the second one searched a D hero to make the favorite contact live. But as we can see, it didn't go through. So here we go. And of course, like I said, now I'm going for the Ferris because I'm trying to get to a D hero. I'm trying to get to a D hero dump or add some way, somehow, because I want to make sure the favorite contact's live to ensure I have interruptions through interruptions. And as you guys can see, I went Infernal Divisor there. I triggered it off with Increase because I'm already in that mindset, right? I'm like, oh, make the favorite contact live while comboing normally. Because say we don't get stopped, then that Neos is going to come into play for our Flame Wingman line. If we do get stopped, that Neos is going to come into play to make DPE off a favorite contact. So that's how we option select our options. Secondly, that's how I was kind of thinking ahead to that end game. And I was like, wait a second. I pitched the Neos for Ferris, so it was a misplay me going into the Infernal Divisor, but it wasn't a huge one because even though like it's an extra summon towards Nibiru, which we're always playing around, even not in the event, it still makes Vion. Since I had to summon Stratos and then normal summon Stratos, Ferris was the third summon, increases fourth, Vion fifth. So it doesn't really matter there. But the way it's a misplay is because I don't get an ad off it, so it's like a useless link. But for this video's sake, I'm kind of glad that I did misplay because it shows you guys that I was prioritizing the Neos in order to get into the option selects I was thinking of. So keep in mind, guys, notice what I said. So increases fifth here, Vion sixth, but Vion would have been the fifth summon anyway. So that breaks our rules in video on match number 1, right? To where it's like, try not to summon Vion under 4. Try to summon Vion under 5. But because of the situation he put us in by imperming the Stratos, there was no way around it. So now we have to play through it, and this is where deck building plays a key role, because by me playing multiple Thrust, I finally got to see one, and hey, look, Thrust is live against any hand trap not imperm, and it's super live against Nibiru Bestial, which people tend to play against us. So here we go. As you guys can see, so I sent the Shadow Missile to Vion since I saw the nib, and I was like, there's no point to send Mally here, let's just go ahead and grab Plasma, and then go ahead and Thrust for Fusion Destiny, because this way, if the Fusion Destiny resolves and doesn't get ashed, I have Plasma DPE now. If it doesn't resolve, I still have DPE because I can favor contact using Plasma and Neos. And I still have interruptions through getting interrupted, which is the name of the game, y'all. But as you can see, the Fusion Destiny resolves, so now we're going to set up our Plasma DPE. And this is how you play through interruptions, guys. You got to make sure your combo line has more than one option when you're doing it. And a big part of that is deck building, which is why I'm saying it's hard to play Hero like other decks because Hero is not other decks. So we need to play to our strengths. We need to play into prioritizing getting DP out, prioritizing getting Plasma out, getting Dark Law out. And yeah, you get that through comboing, but as you guys can saw, I had options to get those cards out even if I'm getting interrupted. Whereas a lot of other decks, they just play to one combo and they don't have to worry about getting stopped because there's very specific choke points. Like Heroes, but Heroes is not like those decks because, yeah, we have the whole Ferris line, but we have multiple stop points at our combos where if they were to hand trap depending on our hand, we have to stop. But that's also a strength, right? Since it's so dependent on our hand, situational, we have to play our deck that way. And as you guys can see, like, whenever I was doing a combo line, it had more than just one option. So when we limit ourselves in deck build like other decks, thinking, oh, we just need to combo, let's just facilitate our combo, not only do we not have the utility slots for it, we're limiting the fluidity of our plays. So that's my point right there. Like, that's why you never see me like doing crazy things like, not saying Crossout is a bad card, but Crossout's only good for one thing, and it is very one-dimensional into your combo. So I will play Crossout in a format where I feel like we just need to get the one combo. But in formats where I'm just like, no, we can do multiple different lines and it's actually better that way, you won't see me playing Crossout. So here we go. As you guys can see, I did search the liquid, and here's another reason I searched the liquid. One or two reasons. And see, that's usually, you want to be able to play your cards in a way to where there's more than one reason to play it. And that's how you get the most value out of it. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh!, not only do you win by playing more cards than your opponent, you put in a way to do that is to make sure your cards have more than one function. So, as you guys know, Liquid's recursion. He's a very strong recursion. But also, it makes my favorite contact turn into an Ab Zero. And Ab Zero DPE is basically a board wipe. And it's really hard for decks to get over Plasma board wipe. And then DPE can also pop a spell if they want to lead out with a field spell or something. So it's just insane. So you just gotta, and not only that, guys, keep in mind, by him nibbing and imperming, we already took 2 cards out of his hand. So he's forced to have more utility just to deal with this board and hope his 1-card starters are enough to get over Plasma and DPE together. So it's just like, your opponent is asking for a lot now, and you're putting them in a spot to where they have to have everything. And even if they have everything, you don't die because you're making an ab-zero to blow up any board that they try to set up against you. So, and then not only that, they have to deal with the Nibiru. So this is what I mean about playing through interruptions, laying your interruptions, and you play through interruptions by making sure your cards have more than one function and your combo line has more than one function. So here we go. Now we get to see what's going on here. So he leads out with the cross out, negating my nib. But hey, and he leads out with the imperm that we're pretty sure he top decked. Because why didn't he just imperm during my turn? Or why didn't he wait for DPE, try to see if I can get to DPE and nib imperm? And by how he played his first imperm, it showed that he was trying to force me into the choke point to where he can nib on my Vion. Because that's usually the only reason to force extra summons into extending in order to nib if you're going to imperm early. Because usually you hold the imperms. And that's why. And his game plan worked. But I just happened to know how to layer and maneuver my board. So that I'm deducing already he drew the imperm. So I don't have to worry about any other weird mystery cards besides the 2 in his hand. And then not only like any utility cards. Besides, and I'm fairly confident those are combo pieces, especially after seeing the Cash Tier Unicorn drop. I'm like, okay, it's probably a Birth or other cash cards because we know he top decked the imperm and he didn't use it last turn. So, look, guys, by him having to use all these utility cards, we hand lift him down from 7 cards to 3. So he has to deal with and also another thing to point out, he negated DPE. So that tells me if a high impact card like Plasma, which is skill drain, if he's choosing DPE over it, that tells me a pop is very detrimental to his game plan, which also tells me 1 interruption hurts him. 1 interactive interruption hurts him, which tells me he may not have enough to get over this Plasma, or he may barely have enough to get over Plasma but not kill me if only 1 interaction hurts him. So, because why wouldn't you just do the skill drain, right? And then not only that, so here we go. And like I was right, he couldn't get over the Plasma. He tried to activate an effect under Plasma, and we're seeing him trying to rise heart and stuff. So, what this play tells me, he was scared I was going to pop his Unicorn and just end his turn if he were to negate Plasma. However, I think the play was, and this is where he missed an opportunity. Most hero players, which is why I'm releasing this video, is struggling with Nibiru. They usually die after just getting nibbed or die after getting double hand trapped. They don't know how to set up a board past 2 hand traps, which, it's hard to do. It's a very skill-intensive thing. So there's no judgment here. We're only helping each other. But he should have saw that after, it should have registered in his head, hey, he was able to set up a really good board past 2 hand traps. This may not be your standard hero player, so I can play him as such, which means he can bluff me. Because that means I'm only going to assume the worst and be able to try to play around the worst. So he should have impermed Plasma and bluffed a Fenrir, or bluffed a Cash Tier of Birth and just summon Unicorn. Because that's his only way of winning. Because as you guys can see, I'm getting DPE back. I still have Plasma up. He can't make any plays. But if he would have summoned Unicorn without showing me any other cards, I would have been put in a situation where, dang, I risk popping this Unicorn and he could have Birth in hand. Or he can have a Fenrir and just break my whole board by. I pop Unicorn. He summons Fenrir. He attacks into Plasma. He banishes DPE. Runs over the Plasma. Now I lose everything. And I'll be honest with you, no cap. And it's obvious I know the Cash Tier matchup. I played it at Nationals, didn't drop a single match to Cash Tier. I wouldn't have popped the Unicorn on summon because I do know he could have just had Birth or he could have had Fenrir, and it would have just been very detrimental. So I would have just waited to see what does hurt. And he would have been able to extend a little further. But because he was just trying to get max value and look at his hand, and he knew he didn't have an out, he told me he didn't have an out by targeting the DPE. So here we go. I'm thinking, okay, he doesn't scoop here. So the only card that bails him out is NIBIRU. So you know what? I'm just going to play under it and kill him under the summon. Because the liquid is recursion, and it's going to allow me to mass change access here, which is the extra. So that was 3 summons. We run over a Shadow Mist. We do DPE because we're going to chain Mass Change, go into the Dark Law with the monster we already attacked, and then we're going to pop the Mass Change because we already got our use from it, and because of how chain links work in Yu-Gi-Oh! The cards don't leave the field until the chain is resolved, so we can still pop it and pop his defense monster, and we're going to just swing directly back. It's a play I do a lot when I'm trying to OTK. And that's the game, y'all. A hero prevails under NIBIRU. And this is a NIBIRU vid, but I kind of like that I also got to discuss the art of bluffing just a little bit, because that's another concept that you need to really be able to like understand both ways. Because one, you need to learn how to play through a bluff, because people will bluff NIBIRU. People bluff NIBIRU against me all the time, and that's kind of their mistake, because one, I'm already not scared of NIBIRU. I'm scared of NIBIRU with a combination of other cards and situations. But NIBIRU solo, I'm never just scared of NIBIRU, because I know how to play around it and under it and through it. And two, by being able to like know your interactions and know how to interact with the board, and if they possibly have things and where and when and why, and how to create interruptions through their interruptions, it allows you to be able to do like when someone's bluffing and when not to fall for it and when to just go for stuff anyway. So here we go, guys. I hope this helps. And hey, if this was a little hard to understand, I definitely recommend my board breakonomics video, because that video definitely shows how to layer a board, how to break through monster interruptions, back row, and hand traps. And then you can go ahead and take the concepts from those videos and then revisit this one, and it should be able to help a lot, because this NIBIRU counterplay video, literally all it is, it's an advanced level of the board breakonomics video. So if you can get that video, then you can definitely get this one. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, share, and subscribe if you liked it. And hey, Christmas Hero out, y'all.